I'm afraid. It's uncharted territory for me.
Macs are really easy to use.
This might be live, by the way.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I just ordered a laptop, and because the other one, they just holding it in repair, they didn't tell me that they were going to do that. And it's been about 8 weeks now, 7 weeks.
Wow.
So
we started the live stream. We got Lackawanna Rail Fan in here saying, hey, everybody. Anthony Dodge, the Model Train Outsider. New Fenris Railroad. Steve 87 PSAP. Hey, bud, you got a really good video that you just posted there on those track cleaning or wheel cleaner, I guess, from Woodland Scenics. Very cool. I think I got one of those sitting upstairs, so probably use it. Yeah, Dwight Curley and John number 2 with Schuylkill River Valley. North American Rail Fan, NKP Railroad Legend. Might have to mute James.
Sorry, is it computer? Is it?
It's all right. Keep talking, bud.
Oh.
Ryan Page, AWR 1050. There you are. You jumped way up there. So,
Too much talk about you have to mute me too.
Yeah, but you're easy to mute. I like muting you. Oh, boy. So we're going to get right into this. Oh, Grandpa Rails. Hey, buddy. How are you? Have an awesome show, brother. I see you have 2 great guests. Well, I've got 1 great guest, and John's here. So
right.
But John knows this wig all too well, so I'll put that one on for you, buddy. There you go. Thanks very much, and you have a safe trip home, John. And Vinny, I guess he's not shy. Oh, boy. I got messages coming from all sides now. James Galton, nice to see you, buddy. David Atkins. Taterman 68 pulled over on the side of the road just to watch this live stream in his truck. My Canadian brother, TSG Multimedia, and James Wright. Well, at least he knows who we all are. I'm impressed he remembers my name some days. So. M&M Shortline Railroad, how are you, sir? And John A. Dawson, we meet again. Digger Evans. Okay, so Digger must be in here. I haven't seen his name in here yet, but there he is. So Digger Evans, how are you? And Wicked Insanity. Your name, if you look at that name, it's just, I try to sound it out like my school teacher tried to tell me to do, and that's just like Wicked, didn't say. And then it moves, and I've just lost it. So, Manny Fernandez, nice for you to join in. We got John 2618. Room's filling up pretty quick. 41 in here. Only been live for a couple minutes. And Digger Evans saying hi. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. So I'll just get this out of the way real quick. Super chats from last week, guys, and I kind of did 2 live streams last week. I did one with Vinny halfway through the week there, and then mine, but super chats and stuff that we were getting together, and everything from this live stream tonight too, guys. Super chats, 100% of it. YouTube takes their 30%, but I'm going to tack the 30% back on. So 100% of what you guys give tonight and the other night is going to go into that December 25th live stream that Vinny and I are going to do. Christmas Day, 9 p.m. Eastern. And all this money we're getting from the super chats and stuff, guys, we're going to take to our sponsors. Mine's OVR Trains, and he'll have to tell you what his is. I can't remember. Yankee Dabbler. Oh, gee, I guess. So I guess I can mention that anyway. So Yankee Dabbler, he'll get his N-scale stuff. I'll get some HO scale stuff, and we'll give that away December 25th, 9 p.m. Eastern. So far, it's just going to be on his channel, but him and I got to talk. And we might just do a double live stream like we tested there on Saturday, I think it was, where his channel was live and my channel was live, but it was the exact same stream. So we found out how to do that. We might just do that again that day. Container Man 68, thank you, buddy. More toys. Oh, I'll give you this one just because I don't wear this one very often. And you like the long hair, so I know you like the pigtails though too. So maybe later. And Robert, nice to see you, buddy. Good thing you're muted, eh, John?
I unmuted myself because I wanted to say something, Dave. Is that okay? I just wanted to thank you for what you're doing, because you guys don't have to raise funds to give stuff away to people, and who knows, maybe the person who ends up winning one of these things, can't afford it. It'll be his first train set or her first train set, and that could be a new model railroader getting into the hobby. So thank you for what you do.
But it's Vinny and I are just kind of hosting the platform for it. Everybody here in the chat his chats, and there's other live stream channels doing it too. But the people in the chat that are giving the super stickers and stuff, those are the real heroes, giving the money up so we can go out and get the stuff. The more money we make, the more stuff we give away. But like you said, I am giving away a train set that day also, and hopefully it goes to somebody new in the hobby and gets them involved. So that's really cool, especially with the showstopper stuff still going on. We got to start getting hobbies that are in the house, basically. Like, you can't go out anyway. So, but thanks very much, Steve. 87 PSAP, $9.99 super sticker, buddy. I'll give you. I like this one every once in a while. So, very good. But I got to thank everybody from the last live streams we had. We had John number 2, Fred Wild, Corey AKVR, Anton Bruce, My Life's Tracks, Caboose 121, The Train Freak, Container Man 68, Grandpa Rails, North American Trains, all popping in with super chats and super stickers during our last live stream. And guys, I do have a PayPal thing out there. It's I think paypal.me /Sparky107107. Now the trains start talking too. But I got 2 PayPal things. Container Man 68 threw me a big one. And Mandy Fernandez, bud, if I ever meet you in person, you're going to get the biggest hug in the world for what you did. And it's all going to a good cause. Like I said, that Christmas live stream that we're going to do, give everything away. So thank you guys very much for all that stuff. And again, every super sticker, PayPal that I get for tonight, 100% will go to that December 25th live stream. So I'll even match it. So Possum Bio super sticker for $5. Thank you, buddy. You guys are going to go through all my wigs tonight, aren't you? You see this coming already. Now, we'll get this one up here. And then without further ado, John A. Dawson, how are you? Give you some glasses. Maybe. Might even give you a hat. What the heck? There we go. You guys are all helping out really good. Thank you. James is sitting there going, what the heck did I just walk into? We get $100, $150 one. James will go out and buy a wig too and put it on here. So maybe I shouldn't have said that. But without further ado, we'll bring up James. We got John here just kind of watching the live stream chat here, guys. So if there's any questions or anything, and John thinks that James knows how to answer it, he'll interrupt us and he'll ask the question. So here we are with James Wright, JLWII 2000. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. I got a train behind me right now that is making a lot of racket for some reason. So my first question to you, I got to look it up. Oh, well, it's an easy one. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself while I go play with this train.
Okay, well, my real name is James Wright. The mishmash of initials and numbers you see on my user ID is not my actual legal name. But been in the hobby since 2009 and been doing videos pretty much since I started in the hobby. I mean, the moment I had a train running is when I had a video running. So it was initially to show my cousin, who was several states over. I was in California and he was in Indiana. You know, what I had done so far, because he was the one that got me into the hobby. So it's pretty cool to be able to document your entire hobby journey on YouTube and watch yourself go from, mid-20s to late 30s, and from the low or the high 100s to the middle and high 200s in terms of weight. But yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. So.
Oh, you were in the military. You must be a really fit guy. What are you talking about? So what's your first memory then of model trains?
Well, my first memory of model trains was as a child. I had probably my grandmother on my I was a fanatic, a train fanatic. First of all, every time we'd hear a train, I'd make my family stop to see it, kind of like a lot of young boys would do. But I had a train even on my glasses. I had glasses as a kid, and there's a train etched on the right corner. I remember one of the first train sets I had, the kind of styrofoam smell of a train set. Next time you get a super chat, let me know because I do have a surprise for the super chat people.
Oh, sure.
But just I remember that smell of like styrofoam, and it was like one of those Tyco type sets or one of the sets you'd get in a grocery store that had a bigger kind of scale or kind of a wonky scale that really wasn't. It's kind of between S and O gauge or whatever. And then I got into Legos later, and then by the time I was a mid-teenager, how I don't know if you know how mid-teenager boys are, if anybody has kids, but they're like everything's dumb, and that was my phase with that. And then it didn't really come back until I went to California and worked with NASA and the YouTube program, where there's a spacesuit that both NASA high altitude planes and the Air Force's spy plane uses. So my cousin sent me a NASA switcher, and then I flew him out to help me set it up because I had no idea what DCC was. I had an Atlas HO scale DCC controller with 3 functions, and it was scaring the crap out of me.
Wow, so, 3 functions.
Yeah, it was F0, F1, and F2. And I'm like, what is this? How's this work? So
you got your headlights, your bell, and your horn. So
yeah, and I didn't know, what's DCC? How does this all go together? I'm not a big, I'm not a big home improvement guy or electrician or carpentry. I'm bad at all that. I don't know if you guys watched the show Home Improvement in the 90s, but I'm basically like Tim Allen. Like I pretend like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. So that's it was scaring me. The whole hobby was very scary at the time. But my cousin took me out there, or I brought him out there, and he took me through and showed me how to do it. So
yeah, I'm from a small town up north in Canada, and even buying trains and stuff, when I first got back into the hobby, I was like just getting to be a dad type thing. So of course I used the excuse of my kids, I got to get into trains again. But everything there was all DC, and that's all they sold. And then I moved to the city, and there's this DCC thing, and I'm watching YouTube, and there's DCC, and I'm like, what is that? And hey, that's kind of cool. They can do the horn, and they're running 4 trains at once, all in different directions. And so I got into that pretty quick. And so
yeah, I didn't have any time with DC really. When I was a kid, it was just, like I said, the wonky grocery store train sets. My grandpa did have a Tyco. I can't remember the name of it. I want to say like something with Chattanooga Choo Choo or something. It was a huge set, and that was pretty cool looking. But I never actually got to see it set up. It was always up in his basement in the storage in the box, and I could see the graphics on the side. So, but later we did set it up after I got in the hobby. We set it up on the pool table, and that was really neat.
Very cool. There we got the super chat there from Tony Fleetwood, $10. Let's make someone's Christmas extra merry.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, James has something for you there, Tony.
Maybe while James is collecting his surprise, I wanted to mention that somebody asked in here, Dave BNSFN Scale asked, how did the reviews start? Because I think
we're gonna get to that in a little bit.
Okay. I just saw that. I'm trying to do my job, boss.
Hey,
look at this guy.
Are you saying something about wigs? Because I totally have one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is my alter ego wig. So
I'll just say you watch my channel all the time, and you knew it was coming.
No, I text my wife. I said, "Bring me up my wig." So I bought this. I bought this years ago. I forget what for actually. But
I'm sure it wasn't for this.
I gotta say though, that really works for you. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, it makes me look like a whole different type of person, huh?
Yeah, right there you got the look. Like you could go to a train show like that, and I wouldn't even recognize you.
I was going to say that's a disguise for going to the train show, so that all the girls don't come up looking for his autograph.
Yeah, that's what it is. All the girls. I remember that.
Yeah. All right, I won't be distracting too much, but So let's see, what did you ask? Oh, the reviews. So I had a friend.
We're gonna get to that one later.
So, okay.
When did you really get serious about the hobby and start making your own layout?
Oh, so immediately. This is kind of a funny story and probably has some adult overtones, but you'll probably get the joke when I say it. But so when I flew my cousin out, he had bought this NASA set for me, and there was no real plan to do anything with it. He thought I was going to put it on a shelf or something like that. And I said, well, we'll see. But I brought him out to kind of see the sights of California. And so we took him, around to the different areas. We took him to Roseville, Yard, and some of the areas in California that, had train stuff. Well, my wife was at work, and one of her coworkers said something about, hey, there's a steam train coming through Stockton, and it's 8:40 something. And my cousin was like, 8:44? And she's like, yeah, I think that was it. It's a Union Pacific steam engine. And he's like, holy crap. And he had no, he had no idea it was coming. He didn't coordinate that when he came out. He's like, can we go see it, please? I'm like, yeah, man, I don't have a problem with it. So we drove to Stockton from Sacramento area. I lived in a subdivision in Sacramento, a town called Lincoln. And so we drove out there, like, okay, it was cool to look at it first. We got there just in time for it to arrive. We're walking around the thing, and I'm like, okay, how long is he going to stare at this thing? Because I don't get it. Like, why are people into trains or whatever, And he wanted to meet the engineer, which at the time was Steve Lee, but Steve Lee had gotten out of the cab and was somewhere around, like in the concessions car or something. And I'm like, hey, man, we really need to just get back, back to the house. So we go back and we're doing, he's showing me the websites like Train World and I think it was Atlas Rescue Forums at the time, or Train Orders, or some of the forums and things with the hobby. And I said, hey, does that 844, do they make that in a model? And he's like, yeah. I was like, that's it. I'm getting wood, to build a layout. So he's like, what? I said, I'm getting wood for a layout. So he's like, okay. So we go to this lumber store, and I told the guy I need the straightest, lumber he's got, high quality, blah, blah, blah. And, my cousin doesn't have a lot of room. So he just built this really, really small layout, and he didn't really have experience in the large layouts. So I had about a 6 foot by 9 foot area plus another like 7 or 8 feet that I was going to use as a shelf layout for a yard. So it was a pretty expansive area at the time, in my opinion. But we built this table, and he didn't support it right when we built it. So it had this sag in the middle. So it was like built-in grades for the trains. But as soon as that table was up, he built the table, and he's like, I got to go. It was time for his flight back to Indiana. So he went back to Indiana, and the first video on YouTube was me showing him like one of my engines running. And like I had a little makeshift tunnel that was like pre-molded. I had Walther's like grass that was laid down that was like on the big sheets. And it actually made decent like rows for like farm land. So I decided my first layout was going to be farmland because it was easy and it was flat. And I had easy track, and then I thought I'd get fancy and ballast the easy track. And then, so all that came along. And then, I can get in the review story later, but then it kind of started with reviews, and then it was a mix of reviews and running videos, and then a mix of how-tos, so there's all sorts of areas I started plugging into because I couldn't find anything on YouTube. So,
yeah, I think we've all had those pre-molded mountains that you're talking about. I
Yeah.
I'm not even sure who actually made them or something, but it was one of the first things you actually go out and buy when you start doing a layout and you're kind of new to the hobby. You get one of those pre-formed mountain type things. You put it on there. You think it's the greatest thing in the world until you start making your own, and then it's like, oh wow, throw that out. Like, so what scale do you actually model?
HO scale.
Do you like running your trains or operations?
So running, but running gets boring. No matter how large the layout gets, to a certain extent, it was therapeutic for me. There was from about 2014 to 2018, I was going through a really tough time in the military, dealing with a lot of personnel issues, and work was just hectic. And coming home and being able to run the trains was therapeutic. However, I think it's time to move on to operations aspect, yards, or not yards, industry. I'll have yards too, but industry, maybe I'll start looking into like the hardcore operations with, was it time cards or whatever they call it? John's going to be highly offended, but just all the different, hardcore operations portions, but I haven't looked into it at all, hardly at this point.
Yeah, and John, all the links you're sending me for these questions just come up as look at YouTube. 421 doesn't actually tell me what the question is. But you can interrupt us anytime.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted me to just pop on here because James is in the middle of a story and there's a bunch of questions popping up on the chat. Someone was curious, and I thought this was a good question, which is your first video was 11 years ago, and how do you stay motivated to stay on YouTube all that time? Like, did you have any lapses where you weren't
Not
on
really.
YouTube?
Even when I deployed, I would preload videos. So prior to this hobby, I had several different hobbies that didn't last very long. RC boats. I did a little bit of like lighting and gardening stuff, and golfing. I mean, I've been through a number of hobbies. What's keeping me motivated to this hobby is really the audience, knowing that people are waiting on certain reviews or items to be seen, or early on where nobody was teaching anybody how to do things, and you had the blind leading the blind, as in me leading them to try to do stuff while I was learning. Nowadays, if I need a break, I take that break by pre-recording several videos, maybe doing a little crappier job than I usually do, which is fairly impressive. And then I'll take a break, So if I need a month off, I'll record 4 videos and I'll just upload frequency once a month. If it gets really like I'm going to be busy for a while, or I need a break for a while, and there's not that much content, then I will break it into 10-day increments. So you've probably seen maybe 2 or 3 breaks of more than 10 days in my entire YouTube history, if I were to guess.
Yeah, but you hide them well. Like you said, you pre-record videos or whatever, throw them up there. So
yep,
most people wouldn't notice. So
I think a lot of people don't realize that you can schedule videos on YouTube. I use that constantly.
Yeah, I've got 3 that just like I don't even remember what day they pop on sometimes. So.
There's another question, Dave. Do you want to do one of yours, or do you want me to?
Well, we'll pop one of mine on there, and then we'll go back to one of yours. But is your hobby a family thing, or is it just for you?
Well, I got my boys into it a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that video. You actually went and got them train sets and got them all started up that way. So
yeah, they like racing trains. The problem now is there's no layout. So while we're in the process of searching for a home, like I tell the realtor I need a lot of square footage, and he's like, why? I was like, because I want a big layout. They may return to that, but they're starting to creep into the age of everything stupid except for games. So we'll see once we get a layout back going, which is going to be very fast and furious once we, move into the home, if they're back into it or not. My wife, like, she really just does not care at all about anything trains.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Oh, okay. So there are actually 3 questions that I have on in line here. So we'll just do them in order, I guess. Joey Butzik is interested in knowing how often do you purchase trains for reviews, and do you get a bunch at a time so that you have enough lined up?
So I purchase at least a couple times a month for reviews. And it probably leads into the question of whether, items are provided, and sometimes they are. But in a lot of cases, I am buying items because the train companies, I don't know what they're doing. Sometimes stuff just shows to my door. And then sometimes their stuff comes too. And if, I've got a pretty good agreement with Train World to where I've got a little more liberal return policy. If something, I ended up with something twice or whatever, as long as I didn't open it or whatever. But, yeah, it's at least a couple times a month. I spend in the 5 figures every year to do product reviews still. So
another question from the chat there is from Humanity Junction. Do you ever have a hard time coming up with content ideas? Do you keep a list of ideas, or do you just shoot videos as the ideas come?
So ideas have been kind of sidelined with reviews because the review process is the same. I try to improve and add to that, but a product review is probably 80% or more of my content now. In terms of the how-tos and stuff, what I look for is holes in YouTube. If I'm looking to learn something that I can't find an answer for on YouTube, then what I'm going to do is struggle through it, look like an idiot, and produce it for everybody else to see. And then at the end, if I can claim victory and say, hey, this works, I can say, hey, not only does this work, but if I can do it, a complete moron in terms of electrical, carpentry, artistry, everything, then you absolutely can do it. So that's what I kind of look for to fill like the holes and ideas. And then April Fool's videos, I haven't done one this April because we were pretty busy, but that's where I spend my idea time. Like what'll be funny, what'll be kind of quirky or interesting for an April Fool's video.
I know with videos, if I'm watching them and it's a how-to video or something like that, I'd like to see the mess up part of it too, where it didn't work out when it does work out type thing. To me, that's a more real video. That's the way I'm going to go. When I do it, I'm going to try it, I'm going to mess it up. But it's nice to know the person that did the video, like yourself, with bigger channel and stuff, you mess up too. So it's okay to mess up. And I think that's what a lot of us are scared of, is that messing up process.
Yeah, I had a lot of the old heads in the hobby angry at me when I did my first how-to videos on how to do a layout outside of the easy track, how to actually lay cork roadbed, because some of it wasn't ideal teaching and some of it was flat out wrong. But at the end of it, I had a train running on track that wasn't easy track. It was staying railed for the most part. It just wasn't a pretty sight. And they're like, how can this guy get this many views? It's like, and I tell them, because you didn't take the time to teach people your expert skills. So, I just took the time to try to help people through the issues I was having. And I was going on forums and everything else to gather the data because it wasn't on YouTube.
You're having the issue, so am I. So, but those people don't understand. They don't, like I said, they don't show the issue. So, to me, it's not a good video. It's just this is it. This is how you do it. Do it my way, go away. So,
yeah.
So do you have a favorite model train that you like to run on your layout when you have your layout?
Yeah, it's probably 844 because that was kind of my first love with model trains. 844 and some sort of diesel, and then a bunch of passenger cars from Walders or Overland. But that's kind of my set. Like if I went broke tomorrow and I had to sell all my trains, that would be the last one to go. That's how I kind of think of it as what's most important to me. So pretty much that one. And then anything UP modern would come after that. The heritage units would probably be second to that.
So you got anything else there, John? Or
oh yeah, I got plenty of questions. They keep coming in. I'm just waiting for time to ask. Somebody's interested to know if there's a piece of HO equipment that's coming out in 2021 that you're most looking forward to? Sorry, I forgot who said that. I didn't copy that part. So
2021. So I had a list of stuff coming out, and then my computer went belly up and I lost it. So I don't really remember off the top of my head what was really interesting. I guess technically 2021 Scale Trains is going to have their CSX Pride and Service units because they just got announced today that they'll be slightly delayed. The Athearn has some, I think it's like a Jeep 15 or something I was kind of interested in. That was UP, but I'm really looking forward to focusing on NS and CSX a little more because that's the region I'm in now. And even though UP is going to be my railroad, there's going to be, kind of either a CSX/NS area or something to where that can play a part on my layout, probably freelance. I still haven't nailed that down because I really need to see what kind of space I'm dealing with first.
Yeah. I think Athearn's got the CP military unit, or the heritage units, I guess, but some of the military units are coming out next year. So
yeah, I haven't decided whether I'm going to pre-order those or not. I'm still on the bubble about that because I'm not a CP modeler, but, they're really cool special paint schemes.
This is just off the cuff here. Nathan DeLay does a lot of scratch building and stuff, and I do have one of his models here I can show you. Right up. Well, I got two actually. But he likes to do pop cans and bullet casings and stuff like that, and then he'll make them into trains.
Mm-hmm.
So this is his scratch building. So his question is, it might be possible question, do you ever sell anything that was scratch built? Because I am a scratch builder. So basically, do you do scratch building, and have you sold any of that stuff?
Early along, I just kit bashed. I wouldn't really call it scratch building, but now I don't really sell much. I hardly sell any trains, let alone buildings or anything. It's just I'm a hoarder kind of in terms of model train stuff.
There's help, James.
Maybe. Who knows? I think we're all into that same bubble. So
yeah.
What do you like most about the hobby?
So I think a sense of community, kind of, with doing the videos, it's people are kind of relying on me for information, and it's kind of a sense of duty in that aspect. And then I like the camaraderie, especially train shows. I miss the feeling you get from train shows because all the companies are competitors, but they're good friends with each other in a lot of cases. Everybody's willing to help people. All the best of the hobby comes out in that situation. You got your grumpy old men on occasion that want to say you're terrible at your modeling or whatever, but it's mostly good mojo, and I like that about the hobby.
And the other side of that coin obviously is, what do you least like about the hobby?
The grumpy men that say your modeling's terrible.
And I could
why do you have so many views when your modeling's terrible and such and such?
Say grumpy old man, and Tom, I just happen to have him up there, so he's not a grumpy old man by any means, but I just want the picture that's there, right? So
I love the critics and the haters because they add to the view numbers.
Oh, for sure.
We have another question, if I can. Is it right? Somebody wants to know how you met Bob Olson. To Bob, Dave BNSF N Scale is curious about that.
So Bob and I worked in the same base, military base. He's a retired military guy that now works as a military contractor. And he watched my videos, and there's a secret area called a vault right behind his work center where he worked. And I would go in there. I would go in there for briefings or information on occasion. And I walked past him one day. He's got my video pulled up, and he's like, he had messaged me and said he worked in my area. And then I told him I had, on one of my videos, I said, we have a big inspection coming up. And he realized he had a big inspection coming up. So he just kind of realized I was in his area. But then we found out we were in the same squadron, and eventually met. And then I was using him for train trips to help video record and get information and help me with bench work and all the stuff that I'm still just not good at. He was really there to help. So really friendly guy, really selfless guy that'll help you out. But my friendships, I try to make sure it's give and take. So I try to buy him a locomotive occasionally, or buy him dinner or whatever, to help pay back, because he basically built my layout. He took existing modules from California that was built by a drunk and added to it, and stabilized it and made it correct and made it to where it could be leveled, with a little adjustable foot screw-in foot pedestals and stuff like that. So, he's pretty good with woodworking, and he was a big help. I wish I could have brought him here, because here I'm going to be in the same boat. I just pretty much refused to learn carpentry, because I'm like, I've already got to spend all this money, buying the stuff, and I'm already terrible at that sort of thing. So I know it's going to end in disaster unless I really dedicate some brain power to it. So I just find somebody that can do it and to help me.
Well, I got a couple of videos on how to do bench work, so it might help you out. It's pretty basic stuff. So
yeah. Well,
Dave's video. This is a nail.
No, it's all screws, buddy. I can't use a nail. I hit my thumb. So you did speak about buying your new home and stuff like that, and you mentioned like a train room is going to be what you're looking for. Now you're looking for a basement or a train room or big backyard that you can kind of build a shed in.
Well, we've got a budget for down payment and then a budget to adjust the house to what we need it to be. So right now, again, on my laptop, I learned this from the House Hunters show. You should get 10 must-haves of a house, and if you can match 8 of them, then you need to go with that house. And right now, the top priority is school district for my kids. The second one is a wooded area for my wife, and then it's like trains, and then like a 3 or 4 car garage for vehicles. So what we've been seeing is like all sorts of over the map. We've only been looking seriously since August, September timeframe, late September, but we were window shopping all the way back since January, and there's been exactly one house that would have met all the requirements as is. Everything else has been, we've got to do this or we've got to do this. So now I've got a contractor basically on standby, and I send him all these pictures and say, give me enough estimate on what this is going to cost me. We're looking at a house Saturday that meets the wooded area requirements. It meets the school district requirements. It has a 4-car garage. It has a basement. I've got to see how big that basement is. But we still have to dump a stupid amount of money into upgrading the house, because the whole neighborhood was built in the 90s, and you'd be surprised how fast that has dated, and needed just simple things like repainting all the walls in the house, or getting tile off the kitchen counters because my wife hates the grout or whatever, and modernizing the kitchen and all that stuff. So we'll see what that brings. It's looking fairly hopeful, but we've got all the way until June before the lease is up in this overpriced rental. And I can tell you a funny story about that. We had tornadoes in the area, so all the rental markets, right when I was looking, shot up $400 or $500 a month each. So I got really bent over the rails, no pun intended, for rent here. But as you can see behind me, that I can't see. This is my problem. I can't figure out simple stuff like how to point at boxes with a mirror image. But anyway,
you get used to that.
You can see boxes back there. Most of our stuff is still packed up in the garage and in the house in different spots, because we're not going to be here that long. We don't put anything on the walls. It's just kind of scattered where it is. So hopefully Saturday, maybe we put an offer in, or we continue to wait and see, because January through April is very hopeful. But I'm kind of on a tangent here, but back to the point. The trains is pretty much number 4 off the list. Number 3 or number 4 off the list. I'd probably put it above a 3-car garage if I had to come down to it. But I'd like ideally a 40-foot or 45-foot by 25-foot area, which is asking a lot, but it'd basically be an unfinished basement or a wide open basement.
The original part of my house is over 100 years old, and it's got the old stone foundation. I don't know if you've ever had that or whatever, but it's big rocks that they made your basement walls out of. And I'm telling you, it makes a great backdrop. My first few videos, my first layout was there, and it looks like it's going through a canyon of rocks. So
yeah,
get that, you're doing great. Backdrop's already done for you. So
and
Dave's weathering his wall inside his basement.
Yeah, not quite, but
I didn't answer the whole question. I didn't answer the whole question because if the basement's not available and everything else is like a dream house and it has a big backyard, then I'd probably swing all that budget to putting like a mobile home type house area up that's just gutted out with AC and insulation, and
you
just
do
throw
a nice shed that's 45 by 15.
Yeah, something like that. Instead of having the money go into renovation, if everything else is perfect, it can just go to that.
Yeah, and then you can make the shed exactly what you want too. So,
Mm-hmm.
just saying. Not that I know anybody that ever did that. So,
It's possible. One of the houses we looked at had this massive garage, but it needed to be insulated, AC'd, and the contractor gave me an estimate on it, but my wife didn't like it. It was out in the country, too far out in the country with no neighborhood aspect at all. So
one last question I got about trains, then we're going to switch over to YouTube stuff. But your dream layout, do you have a picture in your head that what you really want? Like how many levels, what size?
So I'm a very thoughtful person, even though my wife says I don't really care. I'll just pay somebody to destroy it when you die. But I wanted something modular so it can be easily dismantled, if I pass before my wife, which is likely because I have an affinity for fried chicken, and she's, very, very healthy at 130 pounds, 5'7". So, I got John cracking up. But anyway, I want like a 40-foot by 25-foot area, and I was thinking of like a dog bone layout where it's like a huge long run. I'd really like a very long straight run, and then kind of curve around with some 38-inch or 40-inch curves, even massive curves, come back around to another long run, and then off that back area do the industry and maybe be able to walk into the center or access the center. But really, I'm not very imaginative. So I'm waiting on what space we end up with, and then I'm going to send it to my cousin who can work in some of the track planning software. And then there was a guy floating around called the Track Planner, and then I don't know what happened to him, but I was going to try to track him down and then actually pay him to kind of improve off my cousin's ideas, basic ideas, and then come up with something solid, and then get the bench work started and work on the rest myself.
Maybe I should have the Track Planner's email address and phone number, actually. So,
okay.
His name's Bill, but if I don't, you can always look at Big Bill from Model Trains Live.
Oh, is it Bill? What's his last name? I forget
his last name, but Big Bill knows him pretty well too. So.
Oh, Big Bill knows him. I thought he was Big Bill because for a while he was like masking his identity or something, and I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, he still kind of does that. He's only been live a couple times on their show just to kind of promote things and stuff, and he's kind of quiet. Weber Model Railroad, I'm not sure if he's in here. He actually contacted him, and he was getting a track plan done by him also. And I believe there's James Dalton is in here, and he was also talking to him. So there's lots of guys in here. Some of these guys got my email or my phone number here. So if you want to text me what his name or whatever is, and I can send it forward to James later. So
now, if I text you in Canada, I get charged because a Canadian that I'm not going to name names, but they're very chatty and they run a company, called me one time, and I missed the call and called them back, and they talked my ear off for 2 hours, and I got this massive Verizon bill.
Yeah, texting's probably 50 cents each. I've got a plan that actually goes worldwide, so for $10.
Yeah.
You know, James, I want to mention something. I know a guy too, and as a matter of fact, well, I hope you don't mind, Dave. I'm going to tell him about a show that's coming up on my channel that's about layout design. That's going to come out in January. That you might want to catch if you can. It's a live show on January 24th, and the guy that I know, well, I know a lot of people that are into layout design, but we're going to have a few of those people on that live show, and you'll be able to ask questions, and you'll live in the chat like what we have here today. So just FYI, in case you're interested.
My first one's going to be, what's a layout?
And you could ask that question, right?
Yeah.
I have more questions on here, and if that's okay, Dave, I got like 9 or 10 questions that I've been saving up on a little text document.
You go ahead for a little bit, and then we're going to switch over to YouTube questions and get into his reviews and why he does them and how he does them. So
I misunderstood. Did you say that you're going to ask more questions now, or you want me to ask some of these?
You can for now.
Okay. So somebody would like to know, let's see, RDA N Scale would like to know, hey, James, here's a question with what you, so he wants to know if you've ever thought about starting your own hobby shop.
I did think about that. Years ago, there was a mall that had been in Omaha that had been bypassed by a highway. So it was dying. The mall was dying, and it was mostly faceless businesses, storefrontless businesses, like businesses that were server companies, stuff like that, where they didn't have a customer service aspect. And we would go into this mall because there was this Greek restaurant that just stayed in, would not leave the mall because they'd been there for 30 years. And I was like, let me talk to the mall owner and see how much he wants for a place. So he shows me this storefront that has like a toilet that had been uprooted from a bathroom, random cabinets and stuff in there. And he's like, yeah, this will be $800 a month, and you're going to have to move all this stuff out. I'm like, no, I'm good. So that was pretty much the extent of me thinking about starting a hobby shop. And I gave up on that idea. I thought about it a little bit after I retired from the military, and somebody shared their financials with me. That's a fairly good friend. And I'm like, wow, this is totally not worth it. So no, thanks.
Right. Yeah. I hear you. Though. I mean, retail space is not cheap, and I don't know that it ever really has been. Where I live, it's even real estate here is even worse.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
So there's another question here from Humanities Junction. He'd like to know, you mentioned that your wife has no interest in trains, and yet you married her too. So did she come first, or did the trains come first? So were you married when you got into it, I guess is really what he's asking.
Yeah, I was already married. She had kind of lived through my other hobbies, though, like golfing, RC boats. I had an RC boat eaten by an alligator when we lived in Florida. So she had been through all that, and she's like, wow, you need to find something that sticks. And she didn't mind the cost. She was annoyed slightly with the cost. Even to this day, she's just like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I'm like, yeah, but if I ever kick the bucket from eating too much of the Colonel's bucket, I'm going to end up, you're going to need to know what it's worth. So if somebody doesn't come along, like Dave, walks in there and offers her, oh yeah, he's got like, 4,000 items. That's worth an easy $50, So I'm like, you need to know the value a little bit so you don't get screwed over too bad if I kick the bucket or something. So occasionally I'm like, hey, this is how much I have in trains, deal with it, so
I was just going to offer $2,000 for all of it, so that's
well,
there's another, actually I thought this was a really good question. If I could ask another one here. Steve 87th PSAP wants to know, what is your favorite vendor by type? That is scale trains, cars, Walthers, buildings, etc. But may not be right for you doing reviews. Oh, I see what he's saying. He's saying that there might be a conflict of interest if you do reviews on them. But I'm kind of curious too what your favorite brands are. I think that's really what he's asking.
Well, I don't have any conflicts of interest. I just pretty much speak how it is. I'm a little polished on the reviews because I want people to kind of observe for themselves what's going on. And if an item doesn't work, I mention it or whatever. But it's, and the way I like things is going to sound politically correct, but it's just how it is. There's no one company that does everything right. If you look at the Big Boy, for example, so Broadway Limited Big Boy, I love the fact that it has Paragon 3 sound, and I can get like that bass side effect coming from it. I like that it pulls really well, but the whistle doesn't sound that great. I loved MTH's whistle, but the fit and finish wasn't that great. I liked Lionel's Big Boy and O scale, but they had the incorrect details on the ash pan. The ash pan was still there when it's an oil burner. I liked Athern's Big Boy, but the sound, needed some tweaking at a minimum to really get where I liked it. And the pulling power wasn't that great. So I ended up with like 5 different Big Boys because I like an aspect of every different thing, If I had to pick a manufacturer in Steam, it would probably be Broadway Limited or MTH. MTH was more tried and true, although, people have problems with the sounds and stuff or don't like the sounds because it's Proto Sound 3 and it's not ESU or Tsunami or prototypically. But on the Big Boy specifically with MTH, it sounded good. Diesels, Athearn or Scale Trains are usually my go-to diesels because they have detail and durability and quality all wrapped into one. So that's kind of how I break down my favorites of those two, steam and diesels.
What about rolling stock?
Well, rolling stock in terms of detail, you're not going to get any better than. I'm tired. I can already tell. Not exact or Tangent. You're not going to get any better in detail than Tangent. But overall, I like Athearn Genesis, Scale Trains, Exactrail, Tangent, Broadway Limited when they make rolling stock. Passenger cars, I'd have to say Rapido is the best there is in passenger cars. Broadway Limited and Walthers are up there too. So yeah, it's just Overland Brass for most of my UP passenger cars, but that's, you're finding it secondhand and now everybody wants $1 million for it. So getting a little more difficult.
Can I keep? Yeah. Oh, I got plenty more. I can keep going. I can keep going until we're done. I got enough questions here if you want them.
Yeah, no, we'll do a couple more from you, and then I'm going to jump into the YouTube stuff.
And I can stay as long as you guys want them. The medicine I just took's kicking in pretty good, so I'm pretty alert.
So Alvin Gilbert is interested to know if you see yourself getting out of the hobby one day.
Well, I'll share some information here that's probably exclusive, but
it won't be after this.
There's been talks with model train companies, multiple train companies, and I've entertained the idea. My current job right now is with a hospital, and it's the business development manager of a hospital. And I just now finished learning my job, and I'm still practicing the first few things of my job after being there for 2.5, 3 months. It is not terrible at all. I really like it, actually. So it's hard for me to leave that. But there are a couple of manufacturers, including one overseas manufacturer, that they keep kind of soliciting me for a position. And if I did that, there would have to be some serious disclosures just on the moral side of things, right? I want to make sure that people know, okay, reviews would probably go away. There might be product demos, but every single video would have a disclaimer saying, I work for this company. This is just a product demo. You're going to get no opinions. Because it's just not right to lead people on like that at a minimum, So that's about the only way I think I'd leave the hobby or doing videos on YouTube. Other than that, I'm enjoying the hobby, and even if I did work for a train company, I'd do the hobby privately. It just may not be on YouTube anymore, depending on what kind of conflicts I'd have to navigate around.
I think Athearn right now is looking for a product manager. They say it on their live stream. So
isn't that what Jim Wiggins is? I thought he just took that job.
He just yesterday asking people for something like that.
There's another position that they're. I don't think I'm at liberty to discuss the name, but another vacancy from Athearn that has moved on that they're filling. Jim Wiggins still there.
I want to mention something real quick. There's there's one more question I think is really worthwhile here, Dave, if we have time. But also I wanted to mention, and I'm sure we'll get to it later, but I did want to mention that people can ask more questions tomorrow when we get back together to do the thing on my channel. We haven't talked about that, and I don't want to self-promote here. But the last question I wanted to mention was, which manufacturer do you think is the best value for the cost that comes from the Train Freak?
I'll scratch that one off then.
Oh, did you have that? Sorry. I thought it was a great question, though.
So I'm going to get pretty specific here. Athearn Ready to Roll line, in my opinion, is the best value for the cost. And the reason I say that is because 2020's Athearn Ready to Roll line and 2019's is Athearn Genesis from 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, even when I joined the hobby. They've added a lot of details to their Ready to Roll line, and you can get a sound locomotive for in the high ones, where everything else is pushing threes now. And you're getting LED lighting, you're getting details, like MU hoses, separately applied grab irons, window shades, windshield wipers. So that's my take, is Athearn Ready to Roll line has really impressed me with the price and what you're getting.
I've kind of swayed that way now too, especially like you get kids and stuff that come over. Like you said, it's a cheaper model. A lot of the detail isn't there that you'd look at that $300-400 locomotive, but they run great. So, and they're good pullers. So,
and I don't mean to plug my sponsor, but Train World has a lot of good sales on Bachmann. If you're trying to get somebody into the hobby, they had sound, DCC and sound, steam and diesel locomotives from anywhere from $59 to $89. And I was like, wow, so like if I was getting my rambunctious children into the hobby seriously, I'd buy them like Bachmann ES44s, Bachmann ST70 ACs, Bachmann steam engines, because $80-90 for DCC and sound, I mean, you can barely get a decoder for that.
Yeah, true enough. So I'm going to jump into the YouTube stuff, and we'll see how fast we can get through it, because John's obviously got lots of questions for you from the chat. So how did you come up with your channel name and the logo?
So I'll start with the name. It was, if you look at JLW, that's James Lee Wright. Those are my initials. The II is I'm the second. My dad decided to be fancy and not call me Junior. He decided to make me the second. He said at the time the idea was that the second would do better than the first or something in terms of success in their life. And I think he was kind of waiting on me to name my son the third, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. My dad is Dave.
Yeah.
I am Dave the second, and I did name my firstborn David the third. So
yeah, I don't know what I don't know
for it.
I don't know what my mood was at the time. I'm just like, I'm not doing this. I think the real risk takers, though, are the ones that name their kids the fourth, because that's pushing it, But so then you got 2000, which is the year I graduated high school. Now, that's kind of how that came together. How I first used that was I was in Circuit City. I don't know if you guys remember those. In the year 1996 or 7, and I was buying a laptop, and I kind of get a kick out of buying a laptop. I just bought one, and it's like the most exciting thing that's happened to me in months because my life is boring. But I was buying a laptop, and I was trying to get the price down because I'm like a high school kid. I'm working at a restaurant, And I saw that you'd get like $150 off if you signed up for an MSN internet account, dial up. This is 1997. So I talked to my grandfather who had credit and I didn't. And I'm like, hey, can you sign up for internet? You need it anyway. He's like, yeah. So we're at the checkout and the lady's like, okay, you're signing up for internet. That's $150 off this laptop. What user ID do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. So that's how I just spitballed it. I'm like, well, my initials, I think we tried a few things. Like I tried my initials, JLW, and she's like, that's too short. And then JLWII, somebody's already taken it. And then I was like, okay, just throw my graduation year on there too, because that's the year I graduated from high school. So that's the first time I used it. So don't Google JLWII 2000, because if you go way back, you probably find some stuff where I was like, there's a time where I raised a barn owl. I don't know if that's still on the internet. There was a time I was chewing out the apartment complex I lived in, and in a legal battle, and won that battle. And that might still be on the internet. That's all under this user ID.
So just in case people don't know what you do on your channel.
And then the logo, I don't know what side of the shirt I'm on. The logo, there's a guy that I worked with that was trying to be great at YouTube, and I was trying to help him out, but he was a comedy routine, and he just wasn't funny. I kept telling him, I'm like, you need to go back to the drawing board because this stuff is just not funny. But he was really into the Photoshop it and stuff like that, and I was like, hey, can you make me a logo, man? And I'll pay you or whatever. So he found this type of design somewhere on the internet, kind of like this. It was like a train coming out of an infinity, or a set point into infinity, and he just adjusted it and screwed around with the logo, and then told me I should be good with it. So then I ran it by my lawyer, and he's like, yeah, there's this law that if you manipulate an image more than a certain percentage, it's not copyright, but from the original image, or it's not anything they can go after you for legally. So he made this kind of train coming from a set point out to, the foreground.
Very cool.
Yep.
So what can we find on your channel?
Well, in the early days, it was just train running. Then it evolved into product reviews. Then it evolved into how-tos, rail fanning, and then train show coverage, trips to museums and hobby shops. You name it, it's on my channel in terms of the hobby pretty much. What you won't find is kit bashing, weathering, or graffiti. I have not gone down those channels yet. So
when you first started doing the review videos, how did you come up with the format of the coupler height, the weight, pull tests? And I realized, like, I've watched you for quite a while. You used to do very long reviews, and now you've got shorter reviews, double reviews, long reviews. So just kind of go through the format of how you go through all that.
So my initial take on the reviews was, I think the first one I did was just a comparison video of two different types of Athearn Genesis and Athearn ready to roll box cars. So there wasn't any coupler height or anything. And then it was the critics. I mean, I have no problem with constructive criticism, and people were telling me you need to add this, this, and this. And I started adding it, and improving on the videos. You need a higher quality video camera. You're so shaky. You need to use a tripod. All these things started playing into improving the videos. You need to video edit, so I started taking suggestions, sorting through the bad ones. Somebody wanted, me to do a product review of a real engine, something that didn't make any sense. Those would get tossed out, and things that were actually constructive criticism would be taken on. And I've used most of those. Now, I do not spend a whole lot of time editing. I use Windows Movie Maker, and I try to keep that time down. So some of the suggestions, like including prototype history and stuff, were just taking too much time. So I kind of backed off a couple of those. But you see variety now because I have different types of videos. I have product demos, and those are usually, hey, this is just how this works. I'm not doing tests on these. And you'll see that a lot of the times when the item is provided, you'll see a product demo because I don't feel it's fair to run it through the tests and pretend that, it's that I don't have any interest or any vested interest in it. You'll see product reviews when it might be a mishmash of whether it's provided or not, or I bought something, or there's a financial investment on my side in there. Those tend to be a little longer, and that's where all the tests come in. But the test ideas came from the viewers.
Someone wants to, sorry, I want to jump in because I thought this is funny. Someone wants to know if all the criticism was from TSG Multimedia. Is that why I did a video on how to do video reviews? I don't know that I've ever called you and said, hey, dude, that video sucked.
No, I've had I didn't even know you did a video about that, but
I'm trying to remember if I did a video about video review because I don't remember doing one.
I know I did a video and it was a live stream and you came on and it was about doing product reviews.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what they're talking about. That I'm kind of curious. That was Steve 87th PSAP. If he's talking about something on my channel or if it was when we were talking, because I do remember that.
Yeah. The no, I don't mind the criticism. I don't go out looking for it. Like I don't Google myself or anything like that. But if somebody has something to say and it's constructive, it's fine. If it's constructive and it takes too much time, I've had talks with, I know you, John, and Ken Patterson. There's a lot of people that will spend hours editing, and it's a great quality product. I just don't have time for it. Do I have the time? Like actually in my schedule, yes. Will I make the time? No. So,
well, you have to have your own priorities, right?
Right.
I'm a video guy, so for me, editing is critical, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as I'm not working at the hospital,
right?
So I don't have to worry about what I'm doing for 10 hours at the hospital today. I can spend that time making a video look pretty. So
yeah. Luckily, I don't actually work in a hospital. I work in an office building, but it's a hospital. We're in charge of all this staff, and we're still a little bit of an exposure to COVID, but I don't want people to worry about me too much in terms of COVID. Hopefully I didn't get that. So
I guess we'll find out if you can come on tomorrow on the show that we're doing. We'll know.
Because when I alluded to medication earlier, that wasn't a key word for anything special in my cup. That's actual cold medication because I feel a little something coming on. I did not feel good when I got home.
So when you do your review videos, do you find or do you think of yourself as doing a public service?
No, I mean there's the aspect of I want to provide the information for people. Like if I skip a video, a lot of times I don't see the video uploaded on YouTube. As bad as I am at editing and some of the aspects of videography, some people just are like, here's my, big boy, and it's like running by at 40 miles an hour, and that's all you see of it. So I do feel bad if I skip something and nobody can see whether they want to buy it or not, but I don't feel like, oh, I'm single-handedly keeping this hobby afloat in terms of purchasing, there's not much ego on my end. I find it laughable to even have the amount of subscribers I do, and I definitely don't attach any ego to it. This shirt I'm wearing, actually, I got for a train show. See, I did it again. I got for a train show because people kept circling me and kind of staring at me, and I'm like, my cousin was like, you need to get something to identify yourself so people know it's you, because they keep trying to figure out if it's you. But there's not a whole lot of ego, like, I'm the second coming of model railroaders or anything.
But I do know if there's new models or something coming out or they're just released, I do look forward to your videos on stuff before I go out and purchase it. So,
well, I make there's a priority list, and no matter what the situation is, I find a way to get an item if there's a high priority. And sometimes things slip through. There was a couple months ago, I can't remember what it was. I couldn't get a hold of it. and I contacted Train World, and they found it for me so that I could purchase it and get it reviewed because it was highly requested. So I keep a log of all the requests. My channel's mostly modern, is what people like. 70s and later, 80s and later is really what they're requesting mostly.
So how do you get a lot of the products that you do reviews for? Like when you first started to say now?
So when I first started, it was flat out purchasing. And that's where my wife was getting annoyed because it was 40, 50 grand in the first 3 or 4 years into the hobby stuff, And then in, what was it, 2009, I think it was? Yeah, or no, it was when I was in Omaha. So it would have been 2011 or 12. There was a model train company that's like, hey, here you go. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I haven't figured out how this is going to work. And they're like, well, they're doing it all over YouTube already where, YouTubers are getting free stuff and they're just doing reviews. I was like, well, listen, I gotta get my moral compass kind of figured out before we do this. So I took the model home and it sat on the shelf for a few weeks. And I called the company. I was like, okay, here's the deal. Nothing changes. If the model doesn't work, I'll order a new one because I can't make a video with a model that doesn't run, but it's getting mentioned. When I open up the box, if stuff falls off the locomotive, that's how it's going to be. And they're like, oh, that's fine. We understand. I was like, okay. And then I decided if I open the box, and this is where I changed how I did model reviews, because sometimes I'd have models outside the box and then just review them. And I decided that the first time I opened the box would be on camera on that review. And if I didn't, if I got excited and the review was a few weeks off, I would mention, hey guys, I already opened the box and nothing fell off. But that was very rare. To this day, everything that comes in here, the first time the box gets opened is on camera. And then whatever is, if it stutters at slow speed steps, that's how it is. There's no hiding anything. There's no, people may say it's sugarcoating, for example, because I had some Athearn items that were lurching at slow speed steps. But really, it's just covering the bases that maybe it needs to be broken in, but it could be a problem. If it's a problem, I'm giving you a warning that if you bought this model, you're going to want to watch out for that and break it in. And then if it still doesn't work, contact warranty repair or return it. So that's how I decided to keep things in place. And then I still felt like I needed a little bit of a counter and an offset. So I decided giveaways and train shows is how I was going to make it to where it was basically financially neutral. So I'd go to train shows, I do giveaways until the ad revenue from YouTube and anything that I decided to sell, which was pretty rare, that would be offset with train show visits and giveaways. So that's kind of how I keep things in check. Keep the moral compass straight, because I think we started to talk about how I got into reviews, and we can get into that in a minute, but a friend of mine was in car reviews, and you would be surprised. Like, it's just flat out immoral what they do. I mean, they're whining and dining these guys. They give them a 6-month car lease, and then they never pick up the car, so the car is just yours. And then eventually a title shows up in the mail. I mean, they're giving away cars in a lot of cases, and they're not disclosing that on YouTube. So I just decided I needed to find a neutral way to do it. And I could do a few more steps. I could say, hey, this item's bought or this item's provided at the beginning of every review. But a lot of cases, including, matter of fact, if I go to my channel right now and I look up the last few reviews, I know the very last review I did, one of the items was provided. I didn't know it was going to be provided, so I bought one of the items. So I had 2 locomotives, and one of them was bought and one of them was provided. So that's where you get a mixed bag of, where a lot of the models have financial aspects. So let's see, we'll go to like the last 5 reviews, for example. Bachmann Charger, 1 provided, 1 bought. Lionel, purchased. Athearns, several models bought, one provided. So those are, it's pretty common, to have the models bought and or provided, and it gets mixed in, but it's definitely not raining trains or anything like that.
You bring up something interesting, James. You're talking about whether something was bought or provided. And I've actually known someone who would buy a model and then want to give it a good review to justify the $700 he just paid for it.
Yeah.
Even though you could see on screen the problems that he was saying, it was great. It's like, well, yeah. You can see this,
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've seen, there's some YouTube channels where people just go crap on everything that's bought. And I noticed the people that are watching those are the people that can't afford those items, so they look for an excuse not to buy it. So, that's why I get very quiet on my videos, and I want to do the tests, which are independent. They can't be fudged unless you're a super immoral person. I want to do the unboxing on screen for the first time. I want the sound in 5.1 Dolby. I want everything so people can make the decision. And I'm not saying, oh, guys, this is the greatest thing ever. I want them to make the decision with all the facts that can't really be fudged, because that really, you're the decision maker. If you're a lemming, you're going to listen to somebody telling you it's great. But if you see a locomotive or you hear a locomotive and you don't like the way it looks or sounds, then, if I'm doing everything I can with 1080p or 4K in some cases and good sound, just not the best editing, then that's doing my part so that you can make the decision on what products you want.
Very unbiased. And that's the thing I do like about your reviews is you do the same format all the time, no matter what the product is. So
right.
To me, it doesn't matter if it's a scale trains or Athearn or anything else. It's got the same sheet that you have to go off of. So
yep.
It all goes to the same level. So I like that. Thanks for the other super chats, guys. Very cool. Goes right into the 25th December, the giveaway that we're going to do on Vinny's channel. And Beard's now part of my glasses, so we're good.
I feel like I should have had something to.
Hey, where's your wig, John?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I have a wig on this.
John's got such a full head of hair, it looks like a wig. It's like.
Yeah, no, it's not though. It's very, very attached.
Yeah.
So, last two questions basically, and then you can kind of talk about what got you into reviews, and we'll hand it over to John. But favorite video on your channel that you've got to you, and least favorite video?
My favorite video is probably it's called Operation Lifesaver, and it was, I guess, karma benefited me in this case. But there's a kid, I was pretty new on YouTube, and he's like, so nobody's doing my contest. I put a YouTube video up with a contest, and I want everybody to make an Operation Lifesaver video. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I'll do your contest, man. So he's like, yeah, I think if you do my contest, other people will. And I wasn't even, subscriber heavy at the time or anything, but I was like, okay. So I just threw together this video. It's super goofy, super stupid, but it has over 1 million views now, and it still makes pretty decent ad revenue month to month because it's just goofy. It got people's attention, and I think it helped spread my message. And then I didn't even win the contest. I was like, oh man. But that was probably my favorite video, and I don't really have a least favorite. My first edited video was pretty rough. It was a trip to the Western Pacific Museum in Portola, California, and the editing was like some third-party software I wasn't really paying for, so it made the screen really small, and you could barely hear me because I was standing on DDA40X number 6936. It's a UP Heritage Fleet item, but I'm way far away from the camera, and I think it was actually running at the time. So it was just kind of it was my first edited video, which I was really excited about, but looking back, it was just awful.
Well, John, if you got a couple you want to throw out there.
Sure. Let's see. Have you ever gotten into live streams? This is Humanity Junction, interested in I think we talked about that before we were live, but I'll let you answer that question for Heath. Have you ever gotten into live streams?
Most recently, I've gone live with you, right, John? Or have I?
No, that's tomorrow.
I don't know if I had in the past.
Yeah, we didn't. We didn't talk about that yet.
Okay.
We're supposed to do that tomorrow.
Well, I did one of my first live streams on my channel with Athern's Jim Wiggin a few weeks ago. And then Train World sponsors live streams where they've been kind of being replaced with since the train shows aren't occurring anymore. Sorry, I got an itch from the wig.
Yeah, you're going to have to put that wig back on.
Yeah.
Did you see this? Roy Eltham?
Yeah, just
wow.
What happened?
That did.
Oh, that's good.
That's enough.
Way on Christmas Day for sure. Thank you very much, buddy. You got two of us wearing wigs, and I don't know, spike your hair or something, John.
Here's what I would look like if I had a mohawk.
There you go.
Is that good enough? Sorry, go ahead, James.
Oh,
Easily distracted.
So yeah, I have done videos with Train World to kind of get the train show feel back in to the hobby. So I've been able to do live streaming that way.
Okay. I think that answers the question. So you haven't really gotten into it, but you've done a couple here and there. Makes sense.
Yep.
Be doing another one tomorrow, hopefully.
So one of my viewers was asking where this can be seen because they can't see the video. Is it on Sparky's YouTube channel right now?
Yeah, it's live right now.
Oh, he's not seeing it. I was trying to check for myself.
Try refreshing the page. Sometimes YouTube has problems with the live streams.
Well, if you're on YouTube, you got to mute it too, or it'll start a loop.
Yeah, I was just trying to check for my viewer because he can't see it, and I didn't know.
Yeah, Sparky 107.
Yeah,
it looks like Wednesday Night Live Chat. It normally comes up right away too.
I got your channel pulled up, but now my internet's going to be it's trying to be a pain in the rear end. But anyway.
Heath also asked another question, if I could. He also wanted to know if you resell what you buy for reviews, or are you a collector, a hoarder?
I'm a bad hoarder, but once every couple of years, I will sometimes clear out the stuff that I have no interest in, because there is a portion that I don't have interest in. So that ends up being sold off. Usually, as of late, I will go through Facebook. I'll send like a message out on my Facebook page if anybody has any interest in stuff, these items, send me a private message, and I end up working out really good deals because I just want it out of my house. Few weeks ago, I sold a couple sound equipped locomotives that were going for about $300 on eBay for about $170 a piece just to get them gone. So, but that's rare. I mean, we're talking once every couple years around this time. So
there's a question that pops up in the chat here is from Grandpa Rails super chat, and it was, James, do you miss being out of the United States Air Force?
I don't, and I don't want to be a negative Nelly too bad, but it was very, deployments and stuff like that, very stressful. So it was good to be away from being hooked to any sort of world event. Anytime there was a world event, it was a matter of, getting pulled into it. I would see something on the news sometimes, and I would get calls like minutes later saying we have a meeting that night or the next morning, and it's just like, what is the deal? Why are we going through this? And it was just very stressful. So I would just get hooked on to world events and always tied into the news, like what's next, what are we going to have to do? And then I was responsible for the logistics of moving everybody around to deployments and stuff. And sometimes I would have to take people away from their families during the holidays, and it was just not fun. And then there was a political aspect too, because I was sitting in a position that was very promotable. I didn't want to be promoted any further, which rubbed people on the wrong way, and they would backstab me. So
I want to know how you did that. How did you do that while you're talking and typing at the same time so that he'd give you the wig with the bandana?
Oh,
what's up with that?
I don't know. I'm a magician.
You're multitasker.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, sir.
That'll go towards your Christmas giveaway. So glad to contribute to a good cause.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.
Yep.
Speaking of good cause, then I want to jump right down to this. Is on your channel you do like awards or trophies type thing, and one was, if I could find it here, one was for the best live stream, or well, maybe you could just tell it.
The awards. Oh, so yeah, I think you're referring to the best podcasts.
Yeah.
So the awards were actually brought from the military. I was responsible for writing awards for a lot of people. And I thought, there's a lot of, I got to see both sides. I got to see the hobbyist side where you're a customer, but I also saw a lot of manufacturers just getting down in the dumps because they would just get beaten up over every little thing. There was a manufacturer that was fairly new to the scene that was getting beat up. They would go through all these different phases. You've got product design, tooling, manufacturing the tooling, went out there making sure everything's perfect just for something to fail at the last minute or some oversight to occur off one little part of the model that they missed in their research or whatever. And I felt for the manufacturers there. So I said, you've got the Model Railroader Train Awards, which are fine. But again, I'm going to do a little, what do you call it? Not so sugarcoating here. They're very, I'm trying to think of the word, actually. It's just, have you ever taken a Model Railroader Awards poll? It's like, what's the best steam engine and in scale? And they give you 3 options. Like, you don't get to say what's what. They're kind of controlling the narrative to a certain extent. And then I hear
most improved modeler or most improved model, I think was your first one, wasn't it?
Well, that was mine. But when I was looking at other awards, they were very directive on the narrative in terms of like you could only input 3 different items. It would be like me saying, hey, which is the best manufacturer? My favorite is Athearn, this and that. And these are your only 3 options. So choose one, So it was very rigid. And then I found out later it was kind of, in order to talk about your model, the manufacturers had to pay Model Railroader, which is probably going to tick them off if they see this, but I don't really care. So there's kind of like a lot of shadiness going on there. And I really thought, well, this can be done where people can have a voice. So I made the People's Choice Award. I made a topic, but people could put in whatever they wanted, because the only way to really, I couldn't afford 20 different trophies like Kalmbach could, or 40 different trophies. I mean, last year there was something like 60 some categories. You're not going to get me to pay 67 times $150, for the trophy. So I chose a topic, and then people could put in whatever they want. And then I tallied the votes. It was very transparent. It was all there in the comment section. Winner gets a trophy that was, nicer than, instead of doing $100 trophies times 60, I did one really nice trophy that cost me a few $100. And I thought they were going to put it in their bathroom. I didn't think they'd take it seriously, but I wanted the people to have an actual voice in the topic. So that's where the awards came from. Started out with Athearn, was the first one that won the 2011 People's Choice Awards. They were pretty excited, but Shane Wilson, who worked for Athearn at the time, was an excited kind of guy, and he really understood and appreciated it. And then some of them were just like, okay, whatever this is. And then by 2014 or 15, I remember being in Train Fest and somebody won and another manufacturer was just ticked.
Yeah.
And then they pulled me they pulled me to the side and they're like, oh, I know what this is about. Train World bought a whole bunch of this item. So that's why they won the award. I'm like, no, like this has nothing to do with that, that like, it's just go look at the votes for yourself, man. It's in the comment section on the video. So I was like, wow, they're actually taking this seriously, which is good, but I could never really get them. I got a couple companies to share the People's Choice Awards, but nobody would actually across the board share it like they do with Model Railroader. And I understand Model Railroader's way bigger, got way more history than I do and all that stuff. But so this year I decided a new spin on it would be just do the awards. Don't tell anybody in terms of the manufacturers. They'd have to really be paying attention to know. And then that way there's no one person sharing it and another person's not. Last year it got really competitive and one manufacturer shared it at the last minute to try to beat out other manufacturers. So I just decided I'm just going to keep it off the radar. And if they find it and share it, fine. If they don't, they don't. And nobody, I don't think, shared it. So that worked out better to have a pure result.
I know you did the podcast one last year or 2 years ago, and I was tickled pink. I think I had like 6 or 7 people actually put my name down on it. And I thought, well, that was kind of cool. I didn't really think I did a podcast type thing. So,
yeah, and that one I decided to do to reward people outside of just the major manufacturers. And I had a little bigger budget to deal with that year for it. And I'll probably go back to that where there's a manufacturer award and then there's some sort of topic that can be a vendor or something that's not a big manufacturer, to get some recognition as well.
I know Ken Patterson shows that off to everybody that comes over to his house. So
yeah,
straight there, you walk in the door and it's sitting right on a shelf. So
well, he was part of the reason that came up. I think he gave me the idea, and then I had another person telling me like I needed to get away from manufacturers as well. So there's kind of a funny story behind Ken winning that because it was pretty much his idea, but as the comments play out how it did, and if he won, fine. If he didn't, fine. Some people say it's unfair because I'm on a platform that's YouTube and he's a YouTuber. So I broke the award into audio only and video podcast. So him and Lionel Strang got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I think that pretty much wraps it up for me. I don't know what else John's got sitting there.
I have more questions on here if you want to go through more.
We do have your show tomorrow night, so you can hold on to some of them for you.
Okay, well, I'll just leave some of these for tomorrow. I think most of the people that they're from generally tune into my live shows anyway. So
speaking of your live show tomorrow, you can go ahead and plug that real good right now.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize I was going to be on this show tonight, which I thought was kind of funny, but Dave called me or emailed or text or whatever about 2 hours ago and said, "Hey, you want to be a co-host tonight?" And I told him, I was like, "Well, I got a show with James tomorrow. I guess so." So the short answer to the question is James and I are going to be live tomorrow on my channel. And the topic that we're going to start out talking about is product reviews, because that's what I think. Well, actually, I think we're both kind of known for that. I call mine spotlights, and we can talk about the difference, at least my opinion of the difference between a review and a spotlight. I think it's very similar to James's difference between a demo and a review. But tomorrow's show is a live call-in show, so people can call in and talk to us and ask us questions. And I've been doing these live call-in shows now for a few months, and we just have a great time. Last month, I had Michelle Kempema on, and we had a great time talking to all the viewers. I think we took something like 30 calls. So everybody's welcome to join us tomorrow. I made the live event public on my YouTube channel today, so it should show up if you want to put in a reminder for yourself to watch it or something. So,
and what time is that going to be on?
Oh, I guess I should mention that. See, I told you I'm terrible at self-promotion. 4:00 Pacific time, so 7 Eastern. Same time as we started here today, actually. Only it's going to be on tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it because I like bringing in the viewers into the chat because you never know what they're going to ask, and it usually ends up being a very interesting experience.
Is your fridge running?
Exactly. Yeah. Is Mo there?
Yeah, that was it.
Right. Yeah. So, but
we did have something from Heath earlier. He wasn't going to come on, I guess. I did send him a link. He was hoping he'd do a little commercial, but this holiday season on Heath's channel, he's giving away a model train set of the model railroading to the new generation. See my latest video to learn how to enter the giveaway. And that he posted just recently too.
Does everybody watching know who Heath is?
It's Humanity Junction. So this guy right here, he just happens to have another question in there for James.
Oh, James, you don't have to answer that question. I know that mine's your favorite channel. You don't have to answer that now.
Well, I actually am quite the browser. It's kind of whatever catches my attention on YouTube, but model trains has not really been lately. I do watch Train World TV. I know it's going to sound like a plug for the sponsor or whatever, but I do watch Train World TV because they do a lot of those things even without me. I just watched one the other night about how they developed the Bachmann Charger, the SC44. And then TSG, I peek in on occasion. Dave, I peek in on you on occasion. I check in Bob on Bob's N-Scale Man Cave. Man, there's a lot of them. I would have to see what I've got saved, because a lot of what I've got saved is not even trains. Oh wait, this is my son's account he's logged into right now, so I can't even see. I wonder if that's why I couldn't see your live stream, Dave, because he's got a kid account and I don't think it allows for live stream.
Yeah, mine's not kid friendly ever since that Copa thing happened. So.
Yeah, so I bet you that's what it is. But
I thought maybe it was the wigs. You scare kids.
But yeah, I can't even see my own favorites. I'd have to look on my phone, which hint is how I was able to make that donation quickly.
I think Heath is just waiting for you to say Humanity Junction, and then he'll be happy. So
yeah, I don't want to offend Heath. I'll write him down, but I have not seen him yet.
Well, Heath's channel is still pretty new though, so
yeah,
he does a good job though.
Yeah,
there's so much content out there. I'll make a prediction that, in 10 or 15 years, everybody's going to be around the same subscriber number of whatever the percentage of modelers that are actually subscribing to channels are. So I've got subscriptions to Soundtracks, Train World TV, Ken Patterson, Reynolds, MTH, Eric's Trains and O-Scale, NS Modeler 24, Athern is on here, Modeler Man Mike, which hasn't done a video in a very long time. I don't know if either one of you guys knew him.
Doesn't sound familiar.
On once.
Yeah, Triple M Model Railroad.
Yeah, but Mike actually came on Model Railroading Live. I think it was his last time was 2 years ago, and he popped in on the live stream for about 10 minutes, said hi to everybody, said he was hoping to come back, and that's the last anybody ever heard of him. So
yeah, so those are the people that are kind of on my subscriptions. Other than that, I just kind of bounce around and look at whatever, I don't subscribe to much because it's always bringing up notifications, and I'm dumb and don't know how to separate those. I haven't really researched. I know you hit the bell if you want like pop-up notifications, but some of them were just giving me notifications anyway, so I kept my subscribers low. About a year and a half ago, I wiped it out, and it was like a dozen things I was subscribed to total, and it's kind of grown back. So
one last question I had in there in the chat a while back, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase it. N-Scale is getting pretty big now, the technology and advances and stuff. A lot of guys here in the chat are N-Scale, and then we got G-Scale, O-Scale. So you do HO scale mostly, but do you have any plans on doing more reviews for, say, the N-Scale market?
Well, first I want to correct you. N-Scale is not big. It's about that.
Yeah, it's 1 to 160, I think.
Yeah. So
doing that joke.
Got to add some cheese to this live stream. So O scale, my initial plan was to make a layout that was collapsible or foldable or something like that. If I run across my dream home and it's in my budget, and there's just space coming out of my ears, I could see like a very simple O scale layout and an HO layout. I probably would not make an N scale layout because I'm already very jittery. That's why you don't see me working on electronics, installing decoders, or any of that stuff. I was struggling to get the N-scale stuff just on the track when I do review it. So it's rarer that I do N-scale reviews. So, and ideally, I would like to have a G-scale layout outside. So it's more likely to go O and G than it is to go anything smaller. But the most likely scale I'll get into is actually G, because I've already got a couple G scale locomotives on order. Not really G scale or 1 gauge. I know there's a little bit of a difference, but they're MTH 1 gauge DCC and sound locomotives. And then they're going to be probably reviewed and then mantle pieces until I have secured a house. And then it's going to be second fiddle to the HO scale layout. So it may just be laid out in the yard with track for a little while or something and ran. But I would like initially to get the orders I have are for ST70 ACEs. I'd like to get some G scale auto racks.
Wow.
And then kind of expand from there a little bit in the G scale. So that's the immediate scale expansion plans, and then maybe O scale after. Although the Lionel Big Boy it was not my cup of tea. I thought that O scale derailed less. It absolutely still derails just as much as HO. It's way bigger and bulkier to handle. The third rail didn't really turn me on too much. So it's just like, I don't think O is going to be what I thought it was going to be initially, which was I was going to really expand into O.
And like you said, you do buy most of the products yourself anyway, so to get into all the other scales just to do the reviews would be a little crazy.
I'm crazy enough to do it, but it's not going to be just for the reviews. It's going to be for, having G scale in my yard and stuff.
Yeah, self-satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
We're running an hour and 43 minutes. So, John, if you got one really good question that we can end off on, and then we'll say thank yous. And
okay. Looking at the questions that were sent in or mentioned on the live chat, and I don't see anything that was really excellent. I thought the best question tonight was asking about the brands and which ones you thought were the best. Because, you get a lot of stuff, and you've reviewed a lot of stuff. And so, I mean, the same thing with me. I've got hundreds of reviews on my channel so I thought was a good question. I can't think of one right offhand. How about if I just pick one of the 5 that I have printed here? Joey is interested in knowing if you're going to build a roundhouse or a similar space on your future layout to show off a bunch of your hoarded locomotives. How about that?
Roundhouse?
Yeah, he says
people in a roundhouse in a little area to show off all your locomotives.
Yeah. So sorry, I was reading the comment while you were talking, and I am
I had that up too.
terrible.
Yeah, that was the question.
Yeah. So in my last layout, I had a 6 stall, I think it was, maybe 7 stall roundhouse. I still have that. It's still somewhat intact. I plan on resurrecting that to an extent, maybe adding on to it. That's where I house most of the UP steam. The big plan, and it may happen, it may just be a pipe dream. I would really like to somewhat represent the UP steam yard in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I've got pictures, I've got a book about it, I've got all this information waiting to be utilized. Doing scale would be, I think it was going to be a 12-foot wide section. At a minimum, or maybe 15 feet wide section and maybe like 20 feet long. So really, to do it in scale would be pretty difficult. So I was looking at maybe selective compression and finding a way to do that. And that's where all my steam would be. All my UP steam would be displayed. And then maybe up track a little bit, another shop or something for some of the other steam. Sorry.
I thought of a question that might be a good question, but that was my last question, so I can't ask it now.
Well, you can ask one more question unless you just want to hold on to it tomorrow.
I'm just kind of curious if you have a favorite railroad. That's what Michelle and I talked about last month on our live thing that we did. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, it's still UP. Like I said, attention's going to switch to NS and CSX, which I mentioned earlier in the podcast, but that's going to be my favorite railroad. In terms of modeling, it's not my favorite railroad in the way it's operated in real life. But because they've done a lot of things that I don't agree with, but they, in terms of modeling, just flat out modeling is, I say UP.
Is it because it's what you see?
Yeah, it's what I see. It was my first love in terms of, adult modeling, the UP 844, and then it's what I saw in California,
Right.
And I think it's a more attractive paint scheme than just flat NS black. There's an American flag on the side. The UP yellow is, kind of something that is aesthetically pleasing, good looking locomotives, in my opinion.
A lot of SP fans here in my area would argue that point, but that's a different topic.
Oh, modern day present railroad. Yeah.
No, I mean how pleasant the armor yellow looks. A lot of people here don't like that.
Yeah. SP modelers, they were not happy with that merger.
Right.
And on that note, I think we're going to end that. And James, thanks for coming on and sharing what you do for YouTube and your knowledge of the hobby and what you like about the hobby. It was nice to get some of the insights of you and why you're so passionate about some of the reviews and things that you actually do. So I really appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Nice to talk with you guys and spend a little time on live streams because I haven't done it in the past that much. And hopefully the Christmas giveaway, my donation and everybody's donation will help towards that as well. So
I think it's going to be a blast of a night, and I might even go over 4 hours and 5 minutes there, John.
I was going to ask you before we go where do you see your channel going in 5 years, Dave?
Yeah, down the tube.
I do want to thank you also, Dave, for asking me to come on. 3 hours ago, I didn't even know I was going to be here. So, and it's a good primer too, getting to talk with James a little bit before the show tomorrow. So thank you for that.
I figured having James on there would be lots of questions in the chat and stuff. So have you sit there and look. So I appreciate that. Make a good team every once in a while. We'll get our heads put on straight. But I'm going to say goodnight to everybody in the chat. Remember, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to head over TSG Multimedia, and we're going to see these two clowns again tomorrow. So think of some better questions. And any questions that we did miss tonight, John's going to spend a couple hours tonight going over my live stream and going through all the chat, writing down all the questions. So
I'll watch it 3 or 4 times.
There you go. But yeah, tune in tomorrow night, TSG Multimedia, 7 p.m. And we'll do her all again then. But for now, guys, thanks for the super chats and super stickers. It's going to make the Christmas giveaway awesome. You guys are the best community around, so I appreciate it very much. Good night for now, and that's a wrap for me.
Night.